The Library of Invisible Books. The fluffy white clouds were swirling and dancing like angels in the afternoon sky, and they reminded me of the white waves that crashed down on the beach, causing the seagulls to hop, flap, and cry. And as I sat there daydreaming, a finished book lying closed on my lap, I drifted into a doze, which then must have turned into a full-grown nap. And as I was slowly drifting and contemplating on which book would be my next read, my imagination must have been active as it planted a little seed. And I became aware that I was venturing down a quiet leafy lane where the map maker had never proceeded to walk, past an old unused postbox which is now home to birds that chirp, warble and squawk. And then I saw a doorway in the trunk of an oak tree with several ivy-clad nooks that is free to enter and where you can sit and browse, and it's called the Library of Invisible Books. Faint chime bells tinkled from the branches, though they could never ever be seen, and whispers floated around my head as the sunlight filtered through the delicate leaves of green. And then the whisper said, "Welcome to you, reader. Please enter and make your choice at your leisure. A good book awaits you for both your entertainment and your pleasure." There were no shelves, no books or computers, no tables nor any chairs, but the air held the sound of silence and the hum of insects flying without any cares. There are no signs or clocks upon the walls, and no librarian issuing a trademark "shush." But as in every library in the whole wide world, just very faint whispers in the respectful hush. I saw a young man enter who was full of ridicule and disbelief, who in a frustrated manner said, "I can't read what I can't see," though his irritation was brief. "Sometimes," the voice then whispered, "invisible is often the very best, as the imagination can be so wondrous when our minds are put to the test." So the young man proceeded and took a deep breath as he walked in through the old oak tree's door, as the leaves and twigs crunched with his every step on the autumnal woodland floor. Then there was quiet and a stillness as he looked around with an open-mouthed stare, as books slowly and magically appeared on the shelves all around him, and he uttered a whispered prayer. He stretched out his arm and reached towards a shelf where a book glided into his hand across open space, and suddenly and miraculously an interesting story was waiting to take place. It wrapped the young man comfortingly in a woolly and soft loving hug, which smelled like newly mown grass and his grandma's fireside rug. He read about fairies and dragons and mystical magical songs, of clocks that ticked backwards to make amends so that you could rectify any wrongs, of teacups the size of bathtubs filled with bubbles of joy and hope and all of your future dreams, and there were secret doors that gave no directions, just your leap of faith on sun and moonlight beams. Then a young girl arrived with tears running down her face, a runny nose and puffy red eyes, who was sad that she was a child no more, so had stopped listening to her mother's lullabies. The whispers flowed and floated around the young girl as a book glided lovingly into her hands, and she started reading stories of adventure, and her imagination started making travel plans. There then came an elderly gentleman who looked sad and forlorn, who had lost his spark for life, who had come just to sit in solitude and silence to remember his loving wife. He looked up and saw on the highest shelf that a book glowed gently with remembered light, and knew when he started reading it that he was going to be all right. Within the mind, bright sparks are born that flicker bright when stories are read, each book a door to places that we hopefully one day will tread. Imagination carves the way, it can lift us high when life feels low, through the shadowed night and weary day, a compass guide aglow. So read and dream and let the knowledge light set your spirit free, for in the world of books we can ignite imagination, and that is a magical key. Voices can often whisper, and when we listen, inspiration will develop and grow. And through books, our imaginations become the invisible library and hold more knowledge than we will ever know.